Hello everyone and welcome back to our online English class. Today we are going to start Unit 7, Shopping. So I want you to open your student's book to page 84. Page 84. Okay, so let's describe the pictures on this page. I want you to take some time to practice on your own, or you can talk with a family member. Okay, so we might say this looks like a car dealership because there are a lot of cars. And you can also see a used cars sign. So let's look at the second picture. A man is extending his hand for a handshake. So you can say a man is extending his hand. In the third picture, a man and a woman are talking probably about a car. So a man and a woman are talking about a car. Okay, and in picture number 4, you can see the price of a car that includes the features. So you can see some things like power sunroof, 9-speaker system. These are all features of this car. Okay, baby, it's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to play the audio for our listening activity, and I want you to take some notes because I'm going to ask some questions, and I also want you to complete the chart on page 85, exercise 2B. Okay?
Unit 7, Shopping. Page 85, exercises 2A and 2B.
Julie, look at this car. Automatic transmission, air conditioning, leather seats, sunroof, power windows. It's got everything. And it's only $27,500.
Ken, are you crazy? With tax and fees, that's about $30,000. We can't afford $30,000 for a car. Where are we going to get the money? The balance in our savings account is less than $8,000.
No problem. Look here. It says special financing available. Only 4% interest with 60 months to pay off the loan.
60 months to pay? That's 5 years. We're going to pay for that car every month for 5 years. Ken, you know I'm afraid of getting into debt. We have bills to pay every month, and we need to save money for college for the kids.
Well, Julie, tell me, do we need a car or don't we need a car? Our old one always needs repair, and it's...
Okay. We do need a car, but we don't need a new car. We could look for a used car. Let's go across the street and look. I'm sure we can find a good used car for $10,000 or even less than that.
Yeah, but Julie, look at this car. It's a beauty. We should get it. We can buy the car on credit. Everybody does it.
No, not everybody. My father always paid cash for everything. He didn't even have a credit card.
Well, your father never had any fun.
Oh.
And I'm not your father.
Okay, now I'm going to ask some questions. So I want you to answer in complete sentences. And again, you can say them verbally out loud or you can write them down. Okay, so number 1, who are the speakers? Or who is talking? Okay, so we can say Julie and Ken are the speakers, or Julie and Ken are talking. And number 2, what is their relationship? What is their relationship? Okay, so we can say they are husband and wife, or they are a couple. They're probably married, so we can also say they are married. Okay, and then number 3, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? Okay, so we can say they are talking about buying a car. They are talking about buying a car. Okay, and now let's take a look at the chart in exercise B. So for this chart, I want you to practice making questions for each of those categories. So for example, number 1, cost of a new car. And we can see that it is $27,500. So I want you to use those question words, how much or how many, or even what. You can use what as well. And make a question for number 1. Okay, so we can say, how much is a new car? How much is a new car? Or if you want to use those exact words in the category, you can say, what is the cost of a new car? What is the cost of a new car? We can also use cost as a verb. We can also say, what does a new car cost? Or how much does a new car cost? Okay, so in that case, cost is the main verb. So, okay, so you can see that we can use cost as a noun and a verb. So if you look at number 1, in this case, do you think it's a noun or a verb? Yeah, it's a noun. So there are some hints like, what is the cost of a new car? So in this case, we can answer and the verb in this case is. So is. Okay, and then for this question, how much does a new car cost? Cost is a verb, and you can see the helping verb here, does. How much does a new car cost? So if you look at the helping verb, how do you answer this question? A new car is third person singular, so we have to say costs $27,500. So in this case, this is a verb, so we have to add s because car is third person singular. All right, so let's look at number 2. Cost of a car with tax and fees. Okay, so make a question. Okay, so for this one, we can make similar questions as number 1. So we could say, what is the cost of a car with tax and fees? And so we can answer the cost of a car with tax and fees, Or of course you can say it is $30,000. $30,000. Okay? And you can also say, how much does a car with tax and fees cost? Okay? How much does a car with tax and fees cost? And so again, you can say a car with tax and fees, or you can just say it costs $30,000. Okay, number 3, money in the savings account. Make a question. Okay, so we can say how much money is in their savings account. So this is Julie and Ken's savings account. So we can say their savings account. But you can also say the savings account. So how much money is in their savings account? Okay? And I want you to answer the question in a complete sentence as well. Okay, so we can say there is $8,000 in their savings account. There is $8,000 in their savings account. You can also say they have, so they meaning Ken and Julie, they have $8,000 in their savings account. Okay, and then number 4, make a question for interest rate. Okay, this one's pretty simple. We can just say, what is the interest rate? What is the interest rate? Maybe some of you said, how much is the interest rate? And that's okay, but usually when we talk about rate, we say what. So what is the interest rate? Okay, and then answer the question in a complete sentence. Okay, so you can say the interest rate is 4%. Okay, the interest rate is 4%. Number 5, months to pay. Make a question. Okay, so you can say, excuse me, how many months do they have to pay? How many months do they have to pay? So months is a countable noun, so we can say how many months do they, Ken and Julie, have to pay? Okay, so answer the question in a complete sentence. Okay, so we can say they have to pay for 60 months. They have to pay for 60 months. Or you can say they have to pay for 5 years. Okay? And then let's look at number 6. Cost of a used car. So make a question. Cost of a used car. Okay, and this is a big hint. You can just say, what is the cost of a used car? Or how much does a used car cost? So answer the question as well. Okay, so we can say the cost of a used car is $10,000 or less. Okay? Or we can say a used car costs $10,000 or less. Okay, now I'm going to ask a couple more questions about the conversation. So next, What is Julie afraid of? What is Julie afraid of? Okay, so we can say she is afraid of getting into debt. She is afraid of getting into debt. And the word debt, it's D-E-B-T, but the B is silent. Okay, so let me write that down here. Debt. Okay, the B is silent, so we just say debt. Okay, and why is she afraid of getting into debt? Why? Okay, so we can say they have bills to pay and they need to save money for college for their kids or for their children. So again, they have bills to pay and they need to save money for college for their kids. Okay, and finally, what's wrong with their old car? Why do they need to buy another car? What's wrong with their old one? So if you remember from the listening, Ken said, it always needs repair. It always needs repair. Okay, so now I want you to look at exercise 3 after you listen. So take some time to complete the story with the words in the box, and then I will play the audio.
Page 85, Exercise 3A.
Ken and his wife Julie are looking at cars. Ken wants to buy a new car that costs over $27,000. Julie thinks that they can't afford to spend that much money. The balance in their savings account is less than $8,000. She's afraid of getting into debt. But Ken says they can get financing to help pay for the new car. The interest rate is low, and they can take 5 years to pay off the loan. Ken isn't worried about buying things on credit. Julie disagrees. She suggests that they could buy a used car. She says her father never had a credit card. He always paid cash for everything.
Okay, so for exercise B, I want you to take some time to answer these questions. Let's look at number 1. What things do people often buy on credit? Okay, so the obvious things are a car or a house. So you can make a sentence. Okay, and then number 2, is it a good idea to buy things on credit? Okay, why or why not? All right, and maybe you might think it depends. It depends. Maybe sometimes it's a good idea and sometimes it's not. So go ahead and write your answers down. Okay? Okay, so for number 1, you might say, people often buy a car or a house on credit. People often buy a car or a house on credit. And for number 2, you might say, it depends. So for the good things, you can build credit history. And of course, you can get something you really want when you can't afford it immediately. And sometimes it's a good way to teach responsibility, paying on time every month. But it can also be very bad. For example, you have to pay interest, and sometimes you have to pay a lot more than what you thought you would pay. And it can also become a bad habit, always buying things on credit. And if you run out of money or lose your job, then you owe the bank money, so they might take other things that belong to you. Another bad thing is sometimes it takes a long time to pay it off, to pay the loan off. Okay, so now we're going to look at our workbook on page 78. Page 78.